Well, good morning to everyone. It's Tom Padula here on another adventure, and this time I am at Insegna Booksellers and TomPadulaTV will be giving free Italian lessons from me. I've decided after many years of toying with the idea that the time has finally come because basically I have been doing a 1 hour stint on Dante and world history. It's time for going back to my real roots, which is languages. Now, I'm going to give a 1 hour lesson every single week, and it'll be at this time. So here we go. Let me see if I can get this right. Every Tuesday, 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. I'll be here, and I'll announce it. It's okay. Every week I'll do something from here, and if you enjoy the lessons, let me know. You can write to me at TomPadulaTV@gmail.com. So that's important that you have the contacts. And these lessons here, free of charge, come from Insegna Booksellers and also TomPadulaTV. And there again, Insegna.com is the actual website. And there is a section there, apart from all the rest, there's a section right at the top called blog. In that blog, I will be putting these lessons on when I can, because I have to get someone else to help me out with this. But today, this is my first lesson for the learning of Italian, and specifically, but also I will bring in other languages as well as we move along. My intention is very simple. It's to actually talk about language and languages and the learning of languages and how you go about it. There are many, many ways of doing it, and a lot of people who have Italian classes, they will choose a particular way of doing it. And this is my way, it's Tom Padula way, so we'll see what happens, okay? So that's one. And I'm very happy that a few people will come on, and I'll start with one saying that I've made up here, and there we go. The first one is la pratica batte la grammatica, ma senza la grammatica non puoi migliorare o perfezionare la lingua che vuoi imparare. So, practice beats grammar. But without the grammar, you can't improve or perfect the language that you want to learn. So that's an important, that should be the number one thing that you must remember when learning a language. It's an important one, and basically that's it. Now, in these activities that I will be presenting, I will concentrate on a number of things which are important. One of the first one is my activities can be many activities, and this is only a few. This is what I thought, and I won't cover them all today. Le mie attività, you can learn nouns, singular and plural, sketches to begin speaking straight away, sing Italian songs, etc. Now, I have a book. I'm a bookseller, therefore I have a lot of books for the learning of Italian. If anyone is interested, I'm here. You can just give me a call or send me a text and we can talk about it, rather than, I can't do this now as we are speaking because, of course, I'm going to concentrate on what I do. Now, with languages in general, and this is my own way of doing it, there you are. I thought I came yesterday. I thought, what am I going to do to begin with? Let's start from the beginning. Languages. We said that la pratica batte la grammatica. So if you're already speaking Italian, if you already speak Italian or any other language, French, Spanish, whatever, you know that language through use. Now, like everything else that we do in life, the use, you get to the use, and then you have to improve. If you want to sing, you've got to practice, and then you get to the perfection, but not everyone wants to be perfect all the time. So it's better to learn a few things initially and know where you're going, and then give it time. Pazienza, patience will do everything. Now, language. This is my way. There are 9 parts of speech in language. All languages, especially the Latin-derived ones here, okay, and other languages, they all have something in common. And the thing that they have in common is the noun, this one here. Now, forget about all the others, because there are also articles, adjectives, pronoun, verb, and then adverb, prepositions, conjunction, and exclamations. Now, what happens here is simple. You go, you look at this, and you will see that the first 5 are the variable parts of speech. So they change the endings, etc. And the second part is the invariable parts of speech. So these are the variable parts. Now, forget about learning the whole thing in one go. We're going to concentrate in the next few lessons on the noun, Italian nouns, on the noun, I nomi. Yeah? So with the noun, you've got, if you get a dictionary, you'll find that you can find a noun. There are a lot of nouns in a dictionary, and whenever you read, there are a lot of nouns. So how do you handle these nouns? Now, for Italian, a noun, now I have to go back to me. For Italian, the noun is basically all the words, but do they then keep the same? Do they keep the same ending? Well, yes. For example, in Italian, words ending in O are called masculine, and words ending in A are called feminine. And then there are also words ending in E, and they can be both either masculine or feminine. So let's have a look at some of them. I'll get, some of them will be important. It'll be here, and I'll be using my textbooks for the moment, and then we'll see what happens with the actual, with the actual practice of Italian. Now, before I got to that, I would like you to say after me, okay? Come ti chiami? Io mi chiamo Mario. Io mi chiamo Anna. Okay? So, come ti chiami? Io mi chiamo Mario. Io mi chiamo Anna. Tu ti chiami Luigi. Lui si chiama Roberto, etc., etc. So that's that way they start in schools. But the reality is that unless you know words in a language, you won't go very far at all. And the words, for example, the words, as I said, words ending in O are, I'll just mention a few: tavolo, penna, gesso, okay? And these words here, you'll find many other similar words. Whenever I read something, a particular, for example, I've got one here, la famiglia, figlio, I've got uomo, marito, etc., etc. So whenever you read Italian anywhere, just look up, underline, get a pencil, underline the words ending in O. All those words ending in O are masculine. Then there are words ending in A, like, for example, penna, lavagna, porta, cartella. They end in A. Now those words there are feminine. And then there is one other section, one other type, the words in the singular. These are, we're talking about singular, just one item. For example, professore, studente, padre, madre, they end in E. So once you distinguish these categories of words, then if you pick up anything at all, especially a dictionary, you can actually start writing your words, and they will come under different themes. You can have about your family, la cucina, anything at all. As long as you're in the same category, you get the same sort of words. So that's important. So those are the singular. Now, the key to it is that when you are teaching children, they need a lot of exercises. But with adults, you already speak a language, and I've taught both, children and adults, young children, the middle, teenagers, adults. The adults actually have another language, or the language that you speak every day gives you the clue that you too can learn another language. Ma ci vuole la voglia. You must want to do it. Because if you don't want to do anything, you can't really learn. And one of the difficulties I've always had in classrooms, trying to convince the students, that Italian was an important language. And it is, but not for everyone. Because if you speak English every day, why would you learn Italian? It's got to be, that becomes like a hobby. But you can, you can take on other hobbies. It doesn't have to be a language. But language itself, though, also helps you with the first language. Because a language is like a window to your own language. So when we're going to do those 9 parts of speech as I go on, and each week I will improve. So I won't repeat what I've said today. I will go into the practice of it or into the explanations of the language. I don't need to go back. So this, for me, is going to be a journey relating to the teaching of a language. So initially, I'm speaking in English in order to explain what I'm doing with students online, because it's, we're not face to face. I'm not really there to help you out. It's up to you. But if you are interested and you write to me and you say, oh, look, you can tell me where you're at with your language, I can help out. Say, do this, do that. This is the book that you can use, or this is the activity that you can do. So depending on the level of language acquisition that you have, you can always improve, migliorare, e perfezionare la lingua. So you can improve it and perfect it. And it's never too late. It's a fun thing to do. So, I said initially that I would also, maybe I'll just change a little bit, and I'll just go to some phrases again. I saluti, for example, in Italian, okay? Buongiorno, bambini o ragazzi o adulti, buonasera a tutti, buon pomeriggio, ciao, fate i bravi, arrivederci, a domani, a lunedì, a tra poco, come stai, come state, bene, grazie, e tu? And the Italians use lei as well. It's a formal way of doing it. I like tu because it's very close to our English, the English language that we speak. But, the formalities in Italy, especially in grammar, Italian grammar really is at the basis of the Italian language, because most people speak the local language as well, which has variations within it. So pure Italian is also a grammatical language, specifically, and so is French, and so is Spanish, and so are the other languages. In their formalities, you have to formalize the language in order for everyone to be able to access the language across the board. But then there are the variations within particular environments or towns, in Italy or here in Melbourne. Even if you go from Melbourne to Brisbane, let's say, there must be some sort of changes. But, you have to study these things. So I just mentioned a few of those. I'll do a few more. Come va? benissimo, come sta la mamma, sta bene grazie, sta meglio oggi, non sta tanto bene, come stanno I genitori, stanno bene grazie. Now, somebody who knows Italian well says, why is Tom Padula wasting my time with just the beginnings of the language? Well, because if you start from the beginning, you can then grow around it and you can get to the level that you're at. So these are for beginners. These are beginners' books. Therefore, when you first start a journey, you start at the beginning, and it'll carry you wherever, depending on who wants to come along for the journey. Now, let's go back to noun, the noun. You remember, what did we do? The first thing we did was that we said that all words in Italian end in a, o, or e. Now, the e words can be either masculine or feminine, but the words ending in o are always masculine, except for a few exceptions maybe, and the same thing with words ending in a. There are also exceptions. So language is different from maths. It's not a precise, it's not mathematics, it's not like music. Language varies. There are exceptions to the rule. A bit like the laws. The laws of the land are made, and then they also get changed frequently, depending on who's the boss. But English law, for example, then, when you go to court, etc., what happens is that they have precedent. This the way we said it then. And it's the same when I read Dante. That's the way he said it then in 1300. But over the years, then you can bring it up to date, and that's what happens with language. So language is not a precise science. It's really a very good tool for humans, because not only does it allow you to express yourself, but also to change. It changes with time. It changes with the technology, for example. A lot of the words that were developed by the inventions in America, they didn't have them in Italy or France or China. In other words, or the same thing will happen with the Chinese. So they will have an influence on the way we express ourselves. Some of the words from those languages there will come into the main language that we speak. And English has been an incredible language in that it attracts all terms that it doesn't have from other languages. It doesn't discriminate. Let's face it. If you're part of the English Empire, 300 years, the English have done very well. So have the Spaniards and the French and the Portuguese and the Dutch. And the Italians are a little lag behind because they were invaded rather than they were the invaders. And, with our indigenous people here, Aboriginal languages, 130 nations or groups of people speaking different languages, the language, because it wasn't written, it's not something that you can pass on. You can pass it on when it's written. It's much easier. Otherwise, you depend on the day-to-day communication. So that's the language. So let's go back now. That was a bit of the philosophy of language. I need to put this on the table so that people know where I come from with this, my teaching of the language. So let's go back to the noun, okay? The noun are the words in Italian that you know. Get yourself an exercise book, and for next week, I want you to write down the page, one word at a time, all the words in Italian that you know. Doesn't matter. As long as they end up, you can look up an Italian book or a newspaper, anything. All the ones that you just know. For example, my friend, Stephen Ross Ferraro does music. So he could go to the Italian lyrics of those songs and choose all the words that end in O. Easy. We've got a great teacher now. We've got great access to technology, Google, Chrome. You can just type in whatever you want. So words in Italian relating to the kitchen, or words in Italian relating to legumes, vegetables, fruit. But I am interested in you because at the end of the day, today, you can actually have my poetry is online and it gets translated into 53 languages automatically by Google Translator. And there are other translating tools. Now, they're not perfect, so you can always sort of not have anything to do with languages, or you can take it on and just say, I really want to know a lot more about it myself, so that you can then understand that those tools there are imperfect themselves. So when when, for example, in Chinese there are four tones. So if a word can be spoken in 4 tones, each tone can be a different meaning. So that's where you're at. With Italian, quello che dici è quello che è. It's what you see is what you get. It's a phonetic language. What you see in the word there, once you learn the tricks of the words, for example, let's take tavolo, right? Tavolo. But let's get cartella. Cartella, there are double L, so cartella. You get the double. So the doubles, there is a bit of a curve. You got to go from one, then you drop one, and you pick it up on the other side. So, for example, another word for book, libro, B-R. Now, so you have to go back and say, why are you saying this? Why don't you give me the alphabet? Now, do you know the alphabet, the Italian alphabet? There are 21 words in Italian, 21 numbers. In other words, A, B, C, D. Okay, F, G, H. J, no, there's no J, K, L, M, N. So there are 21, 5 of those are vowels, and the other ones are called consonants. And then you've also got the J, the K, the W, which are used for words coming from outside of the Italian language itself. And also, then you've got, for example, the K in Italian can be expressed with a CH. You can't write the K. It's CH is ki. If you add E or E, you get ki and K. So these are the things that I will focus on in my lessons as we go on, because and you have to come back to these all the time, because one of the ways of learning anything is repetition. In fact, whatever you do, the more you repeat it, the better you get at it. And you become quite perfect. And have a look at some of the people who play instruments. They practice a guitar. You hear a maestro, virtuoso with a guitar or mandolin or whatever. But gosh, how much practice is there? And they have to keep on practicing, because if they don't practice, it doesn't gel. Therefore, in Italian, one of the key things to it is to get those words and repeat them. Repeat them, repeat them, and repeat them. I didn't speak English until the age of 15. And I remember, honestly, I learned my first words in English by playing table tennis on the ship coming here. And one of the first things I had to learn was 1, 2, 3, 4, the numbers. So in Italian, do you know the numbers? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 with the accent on the E, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. Then you drop the I and you add the 8, 28, 29, and then you go to 30, 31. 32, 33, 34, 33. That's the accent on the E. 34, 35, 36. But the accent 33, 38, those are, and we'll come back to this as well. So even if I, sometimes in my explanations I might be making some mistakes, well, it doesn't matter really, because you can always fix it up. When you can fix up your mistakes. In fact, we learn more from our mistakes than from what we know. What we know, we know. You actually learn when you make mistakes. When you make mistakes, then if you're willing to fix them up, you will. Because that's the learning part. That's where the repetition comes in. For example, again, the days of the week. Those are the next ones that I learned. Lunedì, martedì, mercoledì, giovedì, venerdì, sabato, domenica. Okay? And then you learn also the derivation of those, because those names come from certain gods, or Roman gods or Greek gods. Lunedì, lunes, luna, see? Lunedì, the day of the moon. Tuesday, it's Thor. It's the day of a god that a bit warlike. Mercoledì, Mercury, the day of Mercury. Giovedì, the wife of Jupiter. Juno. Venerdì, Venus. And our satellites, our other planets are also named after these mythological or gods or places that that humans couldn't explain. What's that thing up there in the sky? So then you've got the months of the year: gennaio, febbraio, marzo, aprile, maggio, giugno, luglio, agosto, settembre, ottobre, novembre, dicembre. One of the interesting things about the months of the year, that pre-Roman Emperor Augustus, there were only 10 months, not 12, because they added July was added on. Luglio and Agosto is Augustus, named after himself. So they sort of fixed up the calendar at that time, and it's gone on ever since. So the learning part is importante. Then the seasons, for example, la primavera, l'estate, l'autunno, l'inverno, etc., etc. And the important dates in your life: la nascita, la morte, la vita, tutti I giorni, il 1 gennaio, etc., etc. You get a lot of these words. Now let's go back. I want you to come back to here, to this particular. Okay, the 9 parts of speech. Okay, I want you to learn this because these are important. There's the noun. The article in English is the and I or N. The in English, TH, you got to put your tongue out, hold the tongue, and say the, because the Italians say da. They can't pronounce the TH. The. So, TH. So, in English it's the, and that's the definite article, and I or N is the indefinite article. Okay? So you get, for example, la mamma, but also una mamma. Okay? You get un tavolo, and also il tavolo. So that table, a table. But if a word in English begins with I, it's an Indian, an Aborigine, and anything. If the word starts with a vowel, then you have to put IN. But that's called the indefinite article. So the article, so the noun, article. Now, when we say il tavolo, for example, a table can be big or small. So that's called, big and small, it's called an adjective. An adjective. So if the word is masculine, the adjective has to be masculine. If the word is feminine, the adjective has to be feminine. There's also one word and many words in the noun. It can be singular or plural. Plural is more than one. So these three parts of speech are quite easy to learn. And if you concentrate on these ones here initially, even from whatever you know already, you'll find that that your language will actually improve. Because we say, for example, I don't know, la lavagna nera, il tavolo rotondo. What happens? But we say the round table, the blackboard. what happens with the adjective, sometimes in English it comes before the word that it describes, and in Italian it comes after. But again, there are exceptions to these rules, and these are the rules that I will be focusing on when I actually deal with the language itself. Because let's not forget, this is the grammatica. And what did we say before? That la pratica batte la grammatica, ma senza la grammatica non puoi migliorare o perfezionare la lingua che vuoi imparare o migliorare. So that's the way to do it. Now, you know, from what I've done on Sundays, some people that are on there, Sundays and Thursdays, that I also do the singing part. So I'm not going to do that today because I haven't prepared for that. But the sketches that from Commedia, I've done some of those. I've done some of those on the other, in my other hours. Now, I've taken on 3 hours. I've taken on 3 hours a week because I love what I'm doing, and I think it's time for Tom Padula to actually give some of his knowledge back. Now, don't worry about my writing on the board there. I haven't written for quite a while. You've got to be more careful, but it doesn't matter because I can type this out and, provide it on a computer, and it looks good. So people are always wanting to look good online, and it's fair enough too. That it should be like that, but I do things my own way. So that's where we're at the moment. I wanted to speak a little bit now about the pronoun and the verb, but before I do that, I want to read from the Commedia per Principianti. I want to read the first the first sketch, because that gets you to read straight away. So if you have this book here, or it's the first one, the first sketch is called Dal Dottore, okay, at the doctor's. Now, Dal Dottore, at the, when you go to see the doctor, there's the dottore, or dottoressa is the feminine. There's la signora and il bambino, okay? Dal Dottore. La signora says, buongiorno. Il dottore says, buongiorno signora, come sta? La signora, io sto bene. Il bambino sta male. Il dottore, ciao piccolo. E il bambino says, buongiorno. Il dottore, come stai? E il bambino, of course, got to pretend, sto molto male. Il dottore, che cosa ti fa male? La testa, il naso e lo stomaco. Sarà l'influenza, dice il dottore. Il bambino dice, sì, of course. Il dottore, quanti anni hai? How old are you? Il bambino, ho 12 anni. Il dottore, vai a scuola? Il bambino, sì, vado a scuola. Il dottore, dov'è la scuola? Il bambino dice, è in città. Il dottore, com'è la scuola? Il bambino, la scuola è terribile. La signora, so the mother intervenes, ma che bambino cattivo, non è vero che non ti piace. Il bambino, sì, invece è vero. La signora, e invece no. Il bambino, sì, ti dico. So the doctor intervenes because the mother and son are fighting over this at this point to avoid the argument. So il dottore says, okay, of course he's going to take the side of the mother. Il dottore, vieni qua ed apri la bocca. To the child. Il bambino opens his mouth. Ah! Il dottore, la gola non è rossa. Vediamo gli orecchi. Looks into his ears. Gli orecchi sono neri. And the signora, of course, is going to have a little bit something to say about her own son. Sono sporchi. Il dottore, vediamo gli occhi. Looks into his eyes. Sono occhi furbi. Tu stai benissimo. You're not sick at all, mate. Il bambino, no, io sto male. What are you saying? I come to the doctor because I'm sick. Il dottore, no, non è vero. Ritorna a scuola. Go back to school. I know your trick. Il bambino, no, a scuola no. So la signora says, grabbing her son, piccola scimmia, a scuola ti ci porto io. Il bambino, il dottore è sciocco. Cosa? A casa facciamo I conti. Now, this, let's analyze this one here. Dal dottore. Notice dottore ends in e. Therefore, it's singular. Dottore. But if you want more than one doctor, you'll end up saying dottori. So that's what we're going to learn as well. So la signora buongiorno, good morning. Buongiorno signora, ends in a, feminine. Come sta? It's a verb there. Io sto bene. Il bambino, notice that, il bambino. Sta male. The child is sick. Ciao piccolo, hello little one. Buongiorno, how are you? I'm not good at all. Male. Now, male, piccolo, are the adjectives. Che cosa ti fa male? And then the child says, my head, la testa, that's a feminine word. Il naso is masculine, e lo stomaco is masculine. Why is la testa feminine? Because probably you change your mind. Grammar, people in etymology, the study of words, where they come from, it's very interesting. Okay, sarà influenza. Notice there, l'influenza, L', influenza. So it starts with an I, l'influenza, with an Italian E, l'influenza, L', So if you want one of these books here, I've got a few copies, and you can go to my website, insegna.com. If you are interested in Italian, there's no obligation at all. Believe it or not, I just want to do this for everyone. So if you want to put up with my, with whatever I do on the day, that's fine. Okay, let's go on. Dove è la scuola? Notice scuola is feminine. La scuola è in città, there's an accent on the A, but città is feminine as well. So scuola in città feminine. La scuola è terribile. Terribile is the actual adjective. Now, there's a bit of explanation there because terribile is an adjective that ends in e, in the singular. Where some of the adjective, for example, piccolo in Italian, it can be piccolo, piccola for the feminine, piccoli, piccole. So there are 4 types, but the adjective ending in e, only got 2 types, terribile, terribili. So, ma che bambino cattivo, non è vero che non ti piace, se invece è vero, e invece no, se ti dico, eccetera, vieni qua ed apri la bocca. La bocca is feminine. La bocca is feminine. La gola non è rossa, la gola is the throat, non è rossa, rossa is an adjective. Vediamo gli orecchi, l'orecchio, gli orecchi, both of them. And that needs a bit of explanation there too. Gli orecchi sono neri, sono sporchi. Now, sporco is pronounced, is written as S-P-O-R-C-O, but then in the plural becomes S-P-O-R-C-H-I, and I need to explain that as well. So that when you see words like that, ending, they have different endings. So you need to learn these things. Otherwise, when you write, you get them wrong. So La Grammatica helps you with your daily practice. So when you practice, it doesn't matter whether you make a mistake or not. People will actually understand you anyway. And the other thing too, when you write, for example, on Facebook, often you get some little paragraphs that are really badly written. But you can read them because all the words are all mixed up. But you can still read them. So in other words, there's a lot to this learning that meets the eye. Languages are science, languages. And the languages, you can learn them across the board. For example, let's take the days of the week in French, because that's another one of my languages, the languages that I've learned. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 21, 22, 23, 24, etc., etc. So you get that as well. And, I'll also bring in other languages that I've never studied, because when you're learning languages, you can go across the board and learn whatever. Now, I have to bring in the examples of other languages next time. Next time I will do that for you, and I'm trying to look for something now in Spanish, but I don't have it. I have to look for it. But, at the end of the day, I really want to continue with this, because I want to go back now to what we were doing before. Now, the pronoun and the verb. Now, the pronoun, when you say, for example, the name of a person, you say Matilda, Virginia, whatever. If you don't want to say Matilda, Matilda's done this, Matilda's done that, Matilda's done, Virginia's done this, Virginia's done that, Maria's done this, David has done this, etc. You don't want to repeat them, so you say she for Matilda, or he for Mario. They're called pronouns. Now, there are many types of pronouns, and the pronoun can also be an adjective as well. So I'll come back to this as a study. And then there is the big one, the verb. The verb is what makes things gel together in a sentence. Io mangio la mela. Okay, I eat the apple. Je mange, etc. But the verb in Italian, a verb, is a very complex but easy to learn. In fact, the verb in Italian is divided into conjugations. So it's like having an army of soldiers, of sailors, and of pilots. There are different conjugations, the endings, and I'll come to these too. And once you're able to capture these, you'll be able to create sentences. You'll be able to understand what people do when they, the writers, how they write, and why do they write precisely? Because they use these verbs correctly, and they use, then there is, apart from the grammar, there's also other studies in languages. So these are the variable parts of speech. So those ones there need a bit of attention. And for next week, I will still concentrate on the noun and the article and the adjective, so that I'll be more prepared for that. And I'll actually put a few examples on the board, and then I'll actually go into more the reading part. Today has been a lot in English, ma io so parlare in italiano, la mia lingua, ho due lingue, non una, quindi se voglio posso anche spiegare in italiano, però l'idea è di spiegarlo in inglese a persone che non parlano l'italiano e che non lo conoscono per bene. Quindi in Australia noi siamo nelle classi e qualcuno dice, i puristi dice, ma tu dovresti parlare solo italiano in classe. Well, that's not quite right, because you also have to communicate with the other person, and especially if they're adults, you need the communication. I truly believe in bilingualism, but you can't always be a purist in one or the other. You can. When I go to Italy, I speak Italian perfectly. I miss speaking in English. I really do. When I then do that, I say, non parlare l'inglese qui, in questa casa. Non parlare l'inglese, si parla italiano qui a casa. Well, if you are one of those people there, then you'll force your child, and they will either rebel totally against you, or they will follow your example, because you were a tough customer. Like, you must do this. When you must do this, how long can you put up with that? You'll put up with it for quite a while, but then there comes a time when you said, enough is enough. I'm not listening to you anymore. And that's where the balances come in. The balances come in, the rights and the obligations. Then these are the things. Now, let's go back to the invariable parts of speech. Invariable parts of speech. There are 4 of them. The first one is the adverb. The adverb is, for example, I walk slowly. You speak loudly. You speak to, that's an adjective, but you can also turn it into an adverb. Again, I've got to bring the adverbs to you. You drink fast. You know, some of these, the adverbs generally come after the verb. To the adverb, you add to the verb. So in other words, if you want to slow something down, or if you want to increase the speed or whatever, and I'll actually, when we come to it in actual practice, I'll show you. Now the preposition is interesting, because the preposition in Latin, where Italian, French, Spanish, Portuguese and Romanian come from, they didn't have prepositions. Prepositions are like di, of, from, in, at, to. They're the prepositions in English. So those are the ones that that need a bit of an explanation as well. The conjunction is again the girl and the boy. I would like to go to the city, but there's a lockdown here, I can't go. But is also a conjunction. And then finally, exclamations or interjections. You, or whatever, explanation. Oh, ah, ooh. there's the exclamation. They don't change. These four parts of speech, they're invariable parts of speech. They do not change. So these ones here don't change. So today, basically, what I've done today with you, I've explained what I'm going to do over the next, over time, because my lessons will be based on all this, and we'll do each one, and then I'll show you as well. Again, we're going back to what we said before. What did we say before? La pratica batte la grammatica, ma senza la grammatica non puoi migliorare o perfezionare la lingua che vuoi imparare. And it doesn't matter which language you want to learn. It's all the same. You have to perfect it. Now, don't forget that this particular lesson comes from Insegna Booksellers, which the website is insegna.com, at TomPadulaTV, and I am on YouTube. And Learn Italian, there's no charge at all. No charge. What I do now, these are free lessons for everyone, and anyone can use them, it's fine. And if you want to share these with other people, you can, not a problem at all. And this when I do it every Tuesday, 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Now, some of the activities that we will do, le mie attività, okay, you can learn about singular and plural, we can learn about the adjectives, etc. We can do the sketches so that you can speak. And if you have the actual book in front of you, or whatever, but maybe even with this, the sketches, etc., I will have them in front of me, and I'll do just this. You won't need to get anything at all. You'll be able to see the practice, and you can say it after me. And also sing Italian songs. I will put some of the songs in front of me, like this, in written form, properly typed out, etc., and you'll be able to sing along with me at home. And then you can tell me by writing to me, TomPadulaTV. No, TomPadula. I didn't do it right. It's TomPadulaTV. Sorry, just 1 second. Oof. What have I done? Ah, dear. I just realised. Okay, it's TomPadula. So there, see, there you have to add TV. Okay, at gmail.com. So that's the one, TomPadulaTV @gmail.com. So I didn't have that. See, even I forgot. So when you forget something, don't worry about it. You can always fix it up. And that was the most important one, because there's another Tom Padula in New York. So if you write TomPadula@gmail.com, probably goes to him. Let's go back to the lesson, okay? Now, before I finish, we're coming towards the end. What I want to do as well today is ask you to tell me how you would like me to approach all this as well, so you can actually make suggestions about what you would like to learn, or if you want me to cover anything at all, that's important. Now, I would like to do another one of these sketches, because I think it's probably a good idea. And this one here is called Giovanni Studia. Giovanni Studia, all right? And I'll read it for you. Giovanni. Silenzio. Chi canta? Sono io. Bella voce. Vero? Again, bella voce. Beautiful voice. Voce ends in E, but bella is an adjective. Bellissima, that's again, it's a variation to bella. Bellissima means very. Ma adesso, Mario, io studio, I'm studying. Ma io canto piano, but I'm singing slowly. I'm singing not too loud, not too loud. No, adesso ci vuole silenzio. Now I need you to be silent, says Giovanni. Ecco un libro, here is a book, un libro, vedi là, un libro. Leggi, you read it. Mario says, va bene, leggo. Ok, Giovanni, ok, leggo, I read it. Mario sits and reads. Giovanni tries to study again, but he hears knocking on the door. Chi bussa? Who's knocking? Says Giovanni. The knocking continues. Giovanni's angry. Silenzio. Chi bussa? And Alfredo says, sono io. It's me, Alfredo. Giovanni says, silenzio. Silence. I'm studying. And Alfredo says, posso entrare? Can I come in? Giovanni says, sì, yes. Ti apro la porta. I'll open your door. La porta. Notice la porta. It's a feminine, la porta, an easy one. That one there. Alfredo says, grazie, cosa fai? So he asks, what are you doing? And Giovanni says, studio. E adesso siediti. And now sit down. And studio, siediti, they are verbs. E adesso, e is a conjunction. Adesso, either an adverb, or you could also call it a conjunction as well, really. But, that needs to be looked at. Alfredo, bene, good. Studio anch'io, I am studying too. So he says, I'm going to read a book. They both sit at the desk trying to study, but there's more noise. They can hear laughter coming from the next room. Giovanni says, silenzio, chi è? Who is it? Anna replies, sono io, Anna. It's me, Anna. Giovanni, ma che cosa fai? But what are you doing? Anna says, sto giocando. Giovanni says, silenzio, io studio, I am studying. Anna, sì, va bene. Anna sits and reads quietly, but soon the silence is broken by the sound of an engine being revved up. Giovanni now is really angry. Now he shouts, chi è? Chi fa questo rumore? Who's making this noise? Basta, enough. I'm trying to study. Sto cercando di studiare. Carlo says, sono io, Carlo. Cosa fai, sciocco? What are you doing, silly? Sciocco is an adjective. Lavoro con il motorino. I'm working on my little motorcycle. E non chiamarmi sciocco. Don't call me stupid, silly. Giovanni, silenzio, io studio. See, when somebody's irritated and they are a bit, they want to command, they always reply with sort of calling you names or whatever. This is part of the psychology of the bully. So in a way, even though Giovanni is studying and is etc., doing a good thing, but he doesn't want to be disturbed by anybody. So how far do we go? And if you don't, sometimes you have to be tough. That's what people say. But then people learn that to be tough, you have to operate in a particular way. Carlo, ma non faccio tanto, but I'm not making much noise. Carlo, Giovanni, Carlo, entra. Come on, Carlo, come in, sit down and study with us, with the other guy, Alfredo himself and John. So the three of them. Va bene. Everyone is trying to study now, but outside someone is calling out to Giovanni. So Giovanni is a bit of a leader. He can bully people and they'll do what he says. Giovanni, chi è questa volta? Who is it this time? He jumps up and he's very angry. Il postino, the postman. Giovanni, I have to tell you that. And Giovanni says, Silenzio! Io studio. He won't let him talk. He grabs a book and throws it at the postman. So he offended the first one. He shouts at the other one. He throws the book at the postman. And the poor postman says, but Giovanni, but is a conjunction. Giovanni, tu hai vinto. You have won. La lotteria. You've won the lottery. He hands him the telegram. Oh. And Giovanni now, he's no longer the bully. He's won. What? I've won. Jumps for joy. And then he turns around to his mates. Ragazzi, ho vinto. I've won. So again, look at me. I've won. So he's no longer studying this time. The bully doesn't see his own, but look what he gets in return. Mario, Alfredo, Carlo, and Anna says, Silenzio! In unison. Sciocco, silly, they call him Sciocco too. Noi studiamo. So what do you do with a bully eventually? Enough people go against him, and then they have to change. Well, they're offensive. They offend the bully because that's what he deserves, in a way. Now, there are in this book here. There are also sort of, and I'll show you. There are exercises. You can see this, and in the book. And I can do this too. In the book here, look. See? Chi canta, no, sono bella. So I can do it like this. So before, and now maybe I'll read it again, and you can read it with me. Silenzio. Chi canta? Sono io. Bella voce, vero? Bellissima, ma adesso Mario io studio. Ma io canto piano. No, adesso ci vuole silenzio. Ecco un libro. Leggi. See, we can go like this. So next time I'll have my writing all done like this so that you can participate at home. And maybe with the songs it'll be more fun. And the poetry as well. Those are the things that I love doing. And basically the lesson will be, next time we'll do La Telefonata together. So it's, coming to the end of the lesson. I've only got 2 more minutes. So I hope that today has been an interesting one. For me, I learn as I move along because I have to do the filming, the preparation. So it's understood that I will make mistakes. I won't remember certain things, but so what? The most important thing is that if you want to learn Italian, contact me and I can tailor your program according to your needs. So that's what I can do. It doesn't matter where you're at with your learning, whether you're a beginner, you are an intermediate student, an advanced or post. I can help you out, even with tertiary studies, not a problem at all. Dante Alighieri, Boccaccio, Petrarca, all of those people there, if you want to know more. And I'll also introduce maybe some cultural elements in these lessons from time to time. So I want to thank you, Angela, for staying on for the whole hour. I've really appreciated that at least somebody is on. You can. This now will go on to my Facebook page, and people will be able to access it for the rest of the week. And this will be my publicity for next week. So if you enjoy it during the week, please let me know by writing to me. And I'm going to continue along these lines. And on this note, the lesson is finished. I will start exactly at 11:30 next week, and I finish off at 12:30 p.m. So then you can go to lunch. That's where I'm going to go now. Okay, ciao to you all. Bye-bye.